It's a very technical topic, so I'm very heartened by the interest in this subject. It is often, the Singapore Emission Factors Registry is often misunderstood, misperceived. So I will focus really on three questions today. First is, why SEFR? Why do we even have a Singapore Emission Factors Registry? Second is, what exactly is the SEFR? What is it, and what does it do, and what does it not do? And finally, I'll end on with some reflections on the very unique nature of the SEFR, the public-private nature. Before I begin, I thought I'd just say something about myself. My name is Ching. I head the Sustainability Division at the Singapore Business Federation, or SBF. So SBF is the apex business chamber in Singapore. We represent more than 32,000 businesses who operate in Singapore. Not necessarily Singaporean businesses. Many of them are international businesses who have operations in Singapore. SBF has 6 different action agendas. We help businesses to, for example, scale internationally, expand their sales and operations abroad. We help them with digital technology as well. And of course, for my action agenda, it is to support them to recognize the value of sustainability and to support them along the journey of sustainability, particularly when it comes to decarbonization. So let me go straight into the topic today. Why SEFR? I think earlier on we did a poll of the profile of the audience. I think about half of the people here are in sustainability, but it also means that half of the people are not in sustainability. So I thought I'll just start with this very, very foundational slide. To begin with, we have to ask ourselves, why do we need to do carbon accounting? And I'm sure over the last 5 days and over the next 5 days, you will get many speakers here expounding on the merits of carbon accounting. So I'm not going to go into that, right? Let's assume that we want to do carbon accounting. Let's assume that your entity, your organization wants to do carbon accounting. The next question that you want to ask yourself is, what is required? What data, what information do you need in order to perform carbon accounting? So you look at this equation over here, a very simple, very elegant equation with 3 parts. First, you need activity data. Activity data is quantitative data pertaining to the level of activity of your business or your organization. So, for example, the number of liters of fuel consumed by your vehicles or by your generators or by your equipment, or the amount of kilowatt hours of electricity consumed by your operations, or the kilograms of waste generated. These are all different types of activity data. And you can imagine, right, for a medium-sized company, you can have hundreds of different rows of different activity data. Next, you'll need an emission factor. An emission factor is a coefficient, is a number that's used to convert activity data into emissions data. I'll talk about this because that's a key point of the SEFR. The outcome that you want is a measure of your greenhouse gas emissions, typically measured in terms of kilograms of CO2 equivalent or tons of CO2 equivalent. And of course, you'll categorize your emission outcomes as either scope 1, scope 2, or scope 3. Now, the focal point over here is the emission factor, right? And that is really the whole point of the SEFR. So why SEFR? In the past, before the SEFR came about, and the SEFR just celebrated its 1-year anniversary. So before 2024, most Singapore companies, when they go about performing their greenhouse gas or carbon accounting, they will use emission factors from international sources. For example, the UK or the US to calculate their carbon emissions. It so happened that because these international sources, well, first, they are better than nothing, right? So having some kind of data, some kind of emission factors as a proxy is better than nothing. But it's not specific to the Singapore context. So it's not 100% accurate. And so you arise with a situation where you can have 2 companies in Singapore doing pretty much the exact same thing. But one company would use the UK sources of emission factors, and another company will use the Australian emission factors. And even though their business operations may be quite similar, the actual greenhouse gas calculated will be quite different. And obviously that's not good. That's not a good situation that we want to to have. And so, sustainability professionals in Singapore voiced out and said that they would benefit if there were a database of Singapore-specific emission factors, a single source of truth, a central library that's specific to Singapore. So SBF, as the Apex Business Chamber, we got together a consortium of public and private partners. You can see our partners on the screen over here. And one of the supporting ministries is the Ministry of Sustainability and Environment. And you can see here the Minister for Sustainability and Environment, Grace Fu. She announced in April 2024 at Ecosperity that this consortium will be going ahead to launch the first and only emission factors registry for Singapore. So we spent the next 6 months working very hard. And in October 2024, we launched it. It went live. The website is netzerohub.sg. So anybody that's interested to access the Singapore emission factors can do so for free by entering www.netzerohub.sg on their browser or by scanning the QR code over here. So it was a team, a consortium of very like-minded partners working very hard day and night for 6 months to come about with this central resource. So what exactly is it, right? It is a database. It is a registry of information. The information that we have are emission factors that are specific to the Singapore case. So what are the benefits? Well, first, as I mentioned earlier, the first problem that we tried to overcome, but with the SEFR, is that we wanted to provide a single reference point. If you are a company that's operating in Singapore, this is the reference point that you want to go to calculate your greenhouse gas emissions. And this also makes your calculation a lot more convenient. The second point is that we want localized emission factors data. Firstly, for accuracy, because the grid emission factor in the UK would differ from the grid emission factor in Singapore. So we want something that is as specific to Singapore as possible for accuracy. The second is that we want consistency. As I mentioned earlier before, we can't have a situation where two companies in Singapore doing essentially the same thing, but one referencing a UK source and one referencing an Australian source and coming out with very different figures, right? That's going to affect the credibility of your calculations. So in terms of achieving a single reference point and in terms of achieving a database of localized emission factors data, I think we have got there. We have done that. We are not resting on our laurels. We have more than 200 rows of data, but we are not content. We want to expand it a lot more. The third benefit is a little bit more aspirational. We haven't quite got there yet, but that is in our vision. We want emission factors data to help companies make strategic decisions, such as green procurement, such as internal carbon pricing. I don't think we've got there yet because I don't think we've got enough data for companies to be able to do this on a large scale, but that guides our vision moving forward. So imagine the SEFR as a iPhone 1, right? And my vision as a project lead is in 20 years' time, where do we want to steer it towards? What is the iPhone 13, 14, 20 equivalent of our product? So whatever you see on the website, that's not the end product. It is a working product. It is good to go. You can start to use it, but don't let it constrain you in terms of what our ambition is going to be. So let me talk a little bit about where we are now. As I said, we work together with a lot of like-minded partners. We have got other partners here as well. There are government agencies as well as trade associations such as the Singapore Green Building Council. So we have consolidated more than 200 emission factors representing the following sectors. You can see on in the bullet points over here. What's really exciting is that when we launched last year in October, we had the first 8 sectors. But as I said, we are not going to rest there. We're not going to stop there. We are coming out very soon. More emission factors, cleaning services, security services, professional services. For the first time ever in the world, we have adopted a bottom-up calculation approach. So if you look at the UK emission factors database, they use EEIO, which is a top-down approach. I won't go to technicalities there. which is a way of estimating. But for us, we have adopted a very novel but also very resource-intensive approach to calculate the emission factors associated with these three services. Cloud computing, that will be released, that will be published in January next year. We work very closely with IMDA and NUS for that. Cloud computing is very exciting because many companies use cloud computing and it's a very material emission source. And of course, for logistics and aviation, we will not be publishing Singapore-specific factors because we don't have the resources and bandwidth to do so. But we will be putting up a formal recommendation for Singapore companies to refer to international ones from the UN and other international organizations. So we have done a lot so far, but we're not stopping there. And this slide tells us our future direction, right? So the first thing is that we consult very regularly with industry. So if you sign up for an account with Net Zero Hub for free, you will be part of our mailing list. And being part of the mailing list means that the next time we convene industry consultations like the one you see here, you'll be invited to come along. So these are public consultations with industry practitioners to help us shape the future direction of the SEFR. And the venue is the same, but different pictures, different people. So more than one session that we have convened. So when we convened the public consultations in December last year, we came up with 3 takeaways. The first takeaway is that the industry would appreciate greater clarity regarding greenhouse gas accounting and climate-related best practices. So we are going to do that. We are going to be launching guidance materials for companies to do so, right? Because the application of emission factors can be quite technical. Second area of work that we want to do is to develop new Singapore-specific emission factors data. And I said over here, this diagram, this picture over here is supposed to represent industry. If you zoom in, there are actually logos of different companies. And as I mentioned a couple of slides before, the work that we have done for cleaning services, professional services, cloud computing is part of this work that we have been doing. And third, and this is quite exciting because this is also a first time ever in the world sort of situation, we are going to be listing product carbon footprint. We have signed an MOU with the WBCSD, so that's the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. They have a team in there called PACT, Partnership for Carbon Transparency, and they have come up with a set of scientific methodology as well as a set of technical methodology for the exchange of credible product carbon footprint data. So we are going to be the first national level registry of emission factors to be listing product carbon footprint data. And this is quite exciting. We'll be making further announcements in first quarter next year. So since our launch, we have benefited more than 700 organizations in the 1 year or so since our launch. And there are 3 ways that organizations can benefit from the SEFR. The first way, the most direct way, is directly through our website, netzerohub.sg. You can also scan the QR code over here. This is how it looks like. Very transparent, very clear. You can also download the Excel spreadsheet, all for free. The second is that you can actually, for many companies, they will sign up to subscribe to a carbon calculator, right? So for example, Unravel Carbon or Terrascope or Persephone. We have agreed with these carbon calculators, and there are more actually. They will be using Singapore Emission Factors Registry data to calculate the greenhouse gases on behalf of their corporate clients. So if you are subscribed to one of these carbon calculator software, you will not even realize that you are benefiting from it. And thirdly, if you are outsourcing the preparation of these disclosures to a consultant, you can also request them to use SEFR data. And in fact, you should, if they haven't already been doing so. I've been noticed that I'm supposed to end, so I'll just take 30 seconds to finish and reflect a little bit on this journey so far on the SEFR. So I earlier mentioned we are quite unique because we are a public-private entity, a consortium. In terms of partnerships, from the whole genesis, the whole conception of it, to the co-creation, to the steering, to the charting of the future direction, we have always tried to be combining the perspectives and the users of both the private sector and the public sector. The second is you realize that, in Singapore, we have not had an emission factors registry until last year. And the reason is because there's been a market failure. The market failure is that actually a product like this is actually a public good, right? A public good, if my economics tutors, teachings, if I can still remember that, it is, if the total societal benefits of the product are greater than the total cost, then the product will be socially efficient. But a socially efficient product may not be provided by a market if the private returns to that product are too low, right? So what happened in other countries, if you look at UK and Australia, their emission factors registry are directly produced by the government. The government uses taxpayers' money to pay for such a product. And well, in this particular case, our government decided that they don't want to do it because it has got to be chartered by industry. And so the responsibility of leading such a project fell to SBF, the Apex Business Chamber, and we decided to lead a public-private consortium to produce the solution. So it's a double-edged sword not being directly produced by government. One is that the benefits of not being directly produced by government is that we can move much faster, right? In terms of 6 months, come on guys, from the announcement of that we will be doing this project to the go live, 6 months, survive on very little sleep, but we managed to push through very quickly because we managed to get rid of or circumvent all the bureaucracy. The other benefit is that because we're not 100% publicly funded, we can also, or we are in a way forced to innovate. So for example, I earlier mentioned we are the first ever country to come up with a PCF listing for emission factors, right? I don't think that the UK or Australian governments will be doing that for their emission factors registry anytime soon. The second is that if you go to netzerohub.sg, you will see that we don't just have the emission factors registry, but we have a resource portal as well. And these other sources, these other products help us to generate some commercial revenue to keep our product and to sustain our product financially. So that's the end. I'll be hanging around here for the next 30 minutes or so. So if you've got any questions, feel free to approach me. I really encourage you to go to our website, www.netzerohub.sg, to access the emission factors registry and other products. Thank you very much.